3. Boom! Welcome to Ruin an Hour, a safe place to talk about anything from sobriety, addiction, balance, and life. My name is Kyle Gray. We're live twice a week, Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and Sundays at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I am joined today with my good friend Nick, LUSH ONE, who's been sober now for just shy of 6 months.
Just over 6 months.
Just
Got that
over.
shit, baby.
Congrats,
Man.
my friend. That's huge.
Well, you know, bro, there's 23 hours in a day, but these 60 minutes belong to God, baby. So that's how we do it.
Let's go. So we've had Lush on the show a couple times now. He's been talking about his journey through sobriety. And this is, he put a lot of effort into his sobriety journey this time. He was just down in a rehab facility, staying down there for a good amount of time. And now you just recently left, correct?
Yeah, so most treatment centers, well, there's a lot of different kinds. There's detoxes, which normally are anywhere between 48 hours to a week or two max. And the sole purpose of that is just to make it so your body has whatever drugs or substances you're addicted to is out of your system, and not that, like, literally threatening to your life. Like, for example, like we've discussed in the past, certain drugs, when you're detoxing off of them, can actually have fatal consequences. In particular, benzodiazepines, that's Xanax, Klonopin, Valium, any drug in that category, and alcohol are the two most deadly detoxes. And I myself happen to be detoxing off of those. So there's detox facilities, and there are regular 30-day programs. And then there's where I went, which was an intensive 12-step community-based 90 to 120-day program. I wound up doing the full 4 months, begrudgingly at times, but I got through it. You know what I mean? It wasn't easy, and then there's different halfway houses, sober living houses that were affiliated with them. I moved into one of those for 2 months, and I just recently completed that. Moved back to, I'm now in Philadelphia with my fiance Marissa. Shouts to her. But I am still working a high accountability intensive outpatient program, which includes several, meetings every day, and therapy and random drug testing and things like that. For accountability purposes, this is all self-imposed. This was not based on any legal ramifications or suggestions. Obviously, yeah, my family and loved ones encouraged it greatly, but I chose to do this, and I think that's been instrumental in my whole mind staying going through it. Like, I've never really tried or put as much effort into anything in my entire life as I have this, and it's almost becoming instinctual. Like my daily regimen of recovery and what I need to do every day to keep myself sober, and
That's incredible, dog. And I just want to reiterate how proud of you I am, dude. Like, I forgot what exactly I was doing yesterday, but literally you were on my mind, and I was just thinking about how I do see a huge shift in you now, as opposed to before, and it just like how you talk about sobriety and how you take a lot of accountability for your actions, and just like the honesty you live in is truthfully incredible, and it's inspiring to not only, I'm sure, a lot of people out there, but to me, to see your evolution as a human, your growth. So I just want to congratulate you on that.
That means so much to me, especially coming from you, and obviously you've had incredible growth yourself, and that was a huge catalyst for inspiration for me in getting right. I'm not even sure if you're aware of the impact you have on other people and how many people view you as a role model, but a lot of us do, from your colleagues to the fans to everybody that is affiliated with battle rap culture. And I'm sure there's, at this point, people that tune in to Ruin Your Day that don't even really like battle rap, but they just love the Ruin Your Day content and community and your whole aura. You know what I mean? Like everything that you as a human being bring to the table. So that was huge for me, and that's also great to hear because at the end of the day, self can't see self, and I have. I think I know how I'm coming across, and I try really hard to let that be known and to live my genuine self and not hide behind the stage characters and affectations which were propping me up for my entire life up until now, honestly.
Yeah.
So it's good that that's coming across because at the end of the day, I can only have so much awareness, and I know how I want the world to see me, and that doesn't necessarily always fall in line with the energy I exude. I think the number one thing is, as far as you said, like living in honesty and accountability is having that be a conscious thought all the time. And what
a conscious thought? What do you mean by that?
Well, just like having like being like actively seeking out self-awareness. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
not just moving through the day aimlessly and being completely oblivious to how our actions affect other people. Because at the end of the day, habits roll together like gang members. You know what I mean? And so me being dishonest, me lacking self-awareness, and just not having a regard about how my actions make me look and affect other people go hand in hand with me using drugs.
Yeah.
So if I start doing that, that's just right around the corner from me getting high again. So it starts like we've discussed before, the relapse process starts way before I actually take that first drink, pop that first pill, snort that first line. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And it starts with the habits, and it's very, like today, I woke up in a bad mood. You know what I mean? Like I didn't get that much sleep.
Yeah.
I was up late watching stupid YouTube videos. Like I'm very hyper aware about the way people perceive me, and sometimes that could be triggering to an extent. Like if I see my friends sharing other people's music and not my own music, or I see my friends and they're not even aware that they're doing it. You know what I mean? Like they're not aware. If they knew how potentially hurtful it was, I'm sure they would act differently. Or you know what I mean? That it's an unrealistic expectation of mine to even care. Like people should just be catering to my emotions 24/7. You know what I mean? Like I'm entitled to everybody just bowing down and doing what I want. That's part of the third step. Turning your will and life over to a higher power of your understanding of the 12 steps. Like part of that is taking your hand off the wheel. I'm not the fucking director of the show. All my friends, all the people in my life are not just characters that I can arrange how I want them to come across and act how I want. You know what I mean?
That's real. That's really real.
And oftentimes I would trick myself and be like, under like a veil of feigned altruism, like I know what's better for you. You should be acting the way I want you to because this is better for you, and I'm actually helping you. But really, it's all self-seeking motives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let me use a perfect example. Like, okay, I want to set up this battle for an event, right? Like, let's say I'm setting up Battle of the Bay 6 or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm setting up a battle, and the battle rapper A agrees to the battle, right? Battle rapper B is like, let's say battle rapper A is a more established artist. He's got, you know what I mean? He's agreed to the fee, all that, everything's good. Battle rapper B is he's an up and comer. He doesn't understand the game as well. He has what I view in my eyes as a false sense of entitlement. Thinks he deserves more than he's worth or whatever. He says he doesn't want to do the battle because he's not getting paid enough. Even if I don't have the budget secure, I'll lie to this person and say, I'm paying you this much money, and hoping I can figure out how to get the cash at some later date, even if it's not already there, because I know, and even if I don't, I'm kind of clinging to some false hope that Battle Rapper B eventually is going to be cool with it, because this is going to be good for his career. This is going to put money. This is going to put some money in his pocket, more than he would have got regardless. He's going to get fame and notoriety and views from it, which are then going to catapult his career and put him in a position to make even more money. But in reality, what I'm doing is I'm going for my own self-seeking needs. You know what I mean? Like, and other instances when I'm setting up a battle, like, oh, I'm paying these dudes, I'm helping them so much, I'm putting them on. When really, A, they're the ones that are doing the fucking hardest work. They're the ones that are actually putting their talent on display. I'm just hosting it and organizing it. It's really not as nearly as taxing, time-consuming, and grueling as, and definitely, I mean, that's debatable, but like overall, it's nothing. The battle rap is nothing without the battles. Like, the MCs are the most important part, hands down. You know what I mean? Like, even like what you do, the production aspect is way more important than anything.
Yeah, but like, even what I do doesn't matter. Like, if the battlers aren't there, it's like, who cares? You know?
Yeah, you might as well just have a beautiful drone shot of a paper wall. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, it doesn't really fucking. I mean, it matters. But what I do is even less important and significant. But I still will do that and feel this sense of like, oh, these people now owe me. You know what I mean? Like, these people should show me respect. I'm helping them. When really, what I'm doing for them benefits me, because it's making me look like this savior and this great guy and this awesome. And I'm getting all this acclaim from it. You know what I mean? Like, when at the end of the day, like, I'm acting like it's benefiting them more. And like, I never even analyzed things from that perspective before. I didn't have the frame of mind to even look at it like that. I was just so self-absorbed and consumed by my own desires that I couldn't even see outside myself.
Yeah. I could see that. You know, a lot of time your own gratuitous like actions and just like self-beneficial
self-will.
Yeah, that like clouds everything else. I mean, I could definitely relate to that, and I guess that makes a lot of sense that you'd keep yourself in a lot of personal accountability now for those things. Cowboy Sushi, real quick, I saw you in the chat. Sorry to hear about your baby mama, but stick around. Thank you for the donation. Appreciate that, man.
Much love, Cowboy Sushi.
Much love, bro. So what for you defines drug addiction? Like, how would you define that for yourself? Because I think we probably want to be clear that it's like we can only really define these things for our own journey, you know?
Yeah. At the end of the day, I can't take anybody else's inventory. You know what I mean? Like,
word.
Like, I really can't. I know that for me, I have addictive tendencies just since I was a child. You know what I mean? Like, I have a very, very addictive personality. So, first of all, I'm third generation addict. My grandmother was a bad alcoholic, God rest her soul. My grandmother on my dad's side was, well, and the way she looked at it, she's not an alcoholic because alcoholics don't drink before 5 p.m. So she would literally be sitting there at 4:53, hands shaking. You know what I mean?
Do you have any of those like loopholes that you would tell yourself? You know, because I had so many of those that I'm like, oh well, you know, I'm not really an alcoholic because I don't get violent when I drink, or like, you know, I'm not an alcoholic because this, that, or the other. But then, you know, turn around, I'd be like drunk at work and like drinking like at my visual effects studio, like fucking, you know, like, did you have any of those like loopholes that you would use?
I would try to, but they would be broken so quick that it wouldn't even, like, it was completely futile. Like, yeah. I kind of can't, especially the fact that, you know what I mean, I was institutionalized at 16 years old. You know what I mean?
So, like, since you were institutionalized at 16, did you always think you were an addict? Were you just like, I'm an addict? Or were you kind of just like, yeah, I have like I like drugs, but I'm not an addict, or were you just like completely like?
So the biggest thing that I knew I was an addict, and at times I would even embrace it. But what I wouldn't acknowledge is that my life was out of control
Oh,
and
good point.
unmanageable. You know what I
Good
mean,
point.
like
Yeah.
I'd be like, yeah, I'm a drug addict, but I'm a fucking rock star. I can handle my shit.
Yeah.
These other fucking pussies, and it would be a badge of honor. People would be like, I've never seen somebody who could take so many drugs and not be on the fucking floor. You know what I mean? But that was just my ridiculously high tolerance and level of consumption was clearly just indicative of the extent of my addiction, if anything else.
Yeah.
Like, I think the big thing that I would always cling to is, oh, I don't play with needles. But like it started like light, like, oh, like I'm only drinking and smoking weed, and like, oh, I'm just taking ecstasy. Like, oh, I'm just doing coke. You know what I mean? I'm just doing. And then needles is like it's the only bridge I never really crossed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm sure the way I was using, like, it was an inevitability. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know. I think it's because I was just too scared, and I think that's probably somewhat of a healthy fear. But it didn't stop me from fucking doing meth. It didn't stop me from smoking crack. It didn't stop me from doing heroin in other forms, except for just not playing with needles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it didn't stop me from waking up with powder on my face, like with powder on my face from the previous night, and then diving right back in it before I'm even out of bed, snorting lines. You know what I mean? Like, there's no boundary I didn't cross. So who knows about it? Like, here's like some shit that was super gnarly as far as cocaine, when I realized like there'd be certain moments of clarity where I would hit and be like, wow, this is out of control. And I'll tell you a couple stories. One, this is with cocaine, and it was merely a fleeting thought, and it wasn't even like a desire or something that I wanted to do, but the fact that this crossed my mind scared the shit out of me. So this was at a time I was living in Marina Del Rey. It was like 2016, and I had a really dope apartment. I had recently stopped selling drugs. I was like serving really, really hard. I was like deep in the coke games. I was selling everything, robbing people, doing all kinds of really shady shit that just completely, like, if you knew, you'd be like, that's not Nick. That's so outside of his character as a human being. That's not the person I became friends with. You know what I mean? Like, you'd be disgusted at what I was doing and who I thought I was. But so, like, after I had stopped, I was still kind of trying to dabble in selling drugs, even though, like, I had already been visited by LAPD. I had already, you know what I mean? Like, it was already, all the signs were that I need to stop doing this. I had open investigations on me. I got evicted from an apartment. My wife and I had to move to Marina Del Rey. And so I wound up getting fronted, like, a bit, like an ounce of coke, which is less than I was getting before at a time, but it's still, like, that's not a recreational, like, that's
a lot.
Distribution. It's enough to sell, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People that buy, unless you're like Dan Bilzerian, you're not buying like an ounce of coke just to do for the week, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe if you're going to Vegas for a bachelor party or some, you know what I mean? Like, it's, people don't really tend to cop out. So I was doing it with the intention to sell it, but I wound up putting it pretty much all up my nose, and I like was doing an exuberant amount. Like, I'm saying, like, I was, remember one day, like, because I kept putting it on the scale to see how much I was doing. I'd be like, okay, I'm only going to do a half gram, and then that would turn into 2 grams, and then that would turn into an 8 ball, and I would keep putting more and more up my nose. And then one day I did like over 7 grams, which is an insane amount by myself, mind you. You know, I would like wait for my wife to go to work, and then I would just sit at home doing cocaine and masturbating all day, literally. You know what I mean? Like, that's all I would fucking do. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I would snort a line or snort a few lines, fucking sprinkle it on a bong on top of some weed, hit that, you feel me? Like, then literally jerk off and rinse, repeat over and over again. It was like a really sick cycle. And my nose was getting so clogged up that I could barely, like, fuck even putting it up my nose. I could barely even breathe at a certain point. It was like,
wow.
And as I was having like this crazy, this like, it was like, I got the hiccups, but it was like an anticlimactic hiccup where I couldn't fully get the hiccup out.
Yeah.
So it's like a super coke drip. My nasal cavity is completely glued shut, and I'm trying to hiccup and can't. It's like the most uncomfortable feeling in the world. I'm making myself dry heave, trying to hiccup. I'm like literally like in the most awkward position, doing like half jumping jacks with my arm above my head.
Yeah.
Mouth open like I'm on a plane trying to make my ear pop from the cabin pressure. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And like I had this thought, like this fleeting thought popped in my mind and was like, I was like, damn, what the hell do people do when they can't snort any more coke? Like, what? I was like, oh yeah, people boof this. People boof it. Like, people put this up their ass.
Yeah.
And I wasn't, like I said, like, this is full disclosure. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't something I was contemplating. It wasn't something I was like, oh, well, I could try this. You know what I mean? But the fact that, and no offense to this, is like, I understand, like, our addiction takes us to dark places. A lot of people do that, not judging anybody that's done that. This isn't me talking down on anybody that does that or plays with needles, because I guarantee you, I've done a lot of things drug-wise that you'll look at as disgusting and look down upon. You know what I mean? So this isn't judgment. Just for me that don't get down like that, the fact that even crossed my mind scared the shit out of me. You know what I mean?
Did that like sober you up when you thought that? Or like, whoa, I'm like actually considering this, you know, like what is this driving me to? Or did it like kind of like roll off in the moment and then like later on you recalled it and it was like, wow, I was actually thinking that.
It was, you know, it was actually even worse, I would say. It was like, I was aware of it, it scared me, and I kept going. And it was pure unmanageability. Pure, I had no control. The drugs had me by the balls, 100%. There was nothing I could do about it. And that right there, I mean, talk about a sign of addiction. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
like that right there, like that, and I had already hit what several people would consider bottoms. If they had gone through the things that I had gone through, gone to the lows, the depths that I've been to, they would have probably already had quit a long time ago. But I had no ability to even contemplate stopping. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And that right there scared the shit out of me. There was another really scary moment was. And I'll never forget this because it was a day that Nipsey Hussle died, R.I.P. That, like, I had been partying the whole night before. I'd been up for like 2 days. Like, not long before that, I'd gotten strung out on meth. And I didn't even realize it, you know what I mean, that I was strung out at the time. But yeah. I had wound up, one of my homies had basically robbed a drug dealer for a bunch of meth, and I was going to help him sell it. And it really wasn't hard for him to convince me to do it, but he was like, why don't you just do it? Just do a line. It's not a big deal. I had already done it. I had done meth a few times, but never willingly in my life. I'd been off meth 3 times. The first time I'd been off meth, I was dating this hot Puerto Rican chick up in the Bay, and she was a tweaker, and I didn't even know she was a tweaker. She was older than me, so she like so she was able to like manipulate me really easily. Like, I was like still a teenager, she was in her 20s, and one day, like, I was like a big stoner, and she'd be up all night tweaking, and I think she got sick of me sleeping all the time. So one day she woke me up in the middle of the night, was like, baby, you look dehydrated, had like some soda, drank the soda, wound up just like getting really like turned on and aroused, and we just had crazy sex for a few hours. Months later, she confided to me, yo, that one night in that soda you drank, I put some meth in there. Just so you know, I spiked your drink with meth. I was like, damn, that's what turned me into Superman for a few hours. Okay. The second time I did it, I was on tour in Texas and was kicking it with these girls, this reoccurring pattern, and
Yeah.
I thought it was coke. The long story short, I'm not going to even get into the details. Thought it was cocaine, turned out to be meth. And I realized that when it went up my nose and it burnt differently. Still didn't really put two and two together because I didn't really know what the meth burn was like at that point. 5 hours later, it's like 6:30 a.m. and I'm still on the phone talking to somebody, and I was like, wait a second, why have I not gone to sleep? Oh yeah, that was Scante. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
so, and then the third time, somebody once again had spiked a line, and I didn't know what it was, and didn't realize it till I was in a hotel room with a soft dick. And you know what I mean? Sorry to keep being vulgar, but
No,
this
no,
is
no.
just,
Be
you
as
know,
honest as you can. This is super
honest
helpful.
conversations.
Yeah,
So I had never tried it willingly before this, and actually, no, there was one time I tried it in the studio. I smoked it, and but you know, I was at a really low point in my life, was super depressed, had recently gotten divorced, and then I started. And I really like. It seems like every time I hit a new low in life, as far as, you know, loss of relationships, loss of job, loss of some type of passion of mine, when all of that would come, it would just lead me to getting increased ambivalence by what I would do with my body. And
Yeah.
so like doing meth really didn't seem like a big deal, and taking the risks I was doing, crossing state lines with, you know, federal offenses that could put me in prison for 20 years and shit, really I didn't even think twice about it. You know what I mean? And part of that is being on the benzodiazepines. It's an anxiety medication, so you really don't care. You don't feel any stress. This is medication they give to combat war veterans and things like that. You know what I mean? And I'm abusing that and mixing it with crystal meth. And so I've been on this meth binge, and it was a day that, like, that day Nipsey wound up getting murdered, and it was really sad. And I had friends over, and we were just hanging out, and nobody really knew except for like a couple people that I was doing the meth, because it's something that I've felt really self-conscious about. You know what I mean? That's like not something that, it's not just like, even cocaine could be somewhat of a social drug. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, people don't look at you that crazy for that, but meth, like, that's some shit everybody looks down upon. And I always hated the fact that people, like, I would read YouTube comments or comments online about me, and Lush One's a fucking tweaker. You could tell he's on meth. Just look at his eyes, look at his teeth. And I hadn't even really been doing meth like that at that point. It was all other drugs that were making me look like that. And that shit not only hurt my feelings and made me feel some type of way, but it made me, me doing it then, it was like, I'm fulfilling their prophecy. I'm justifying all the hate that people have been giving me for all these years. You know what I mean? So it wasn't something I was publicizing by any means. And that night I wound up just having a really scary hallucination of like a demon coming after me type shit, like a big skeletal fetus of a pterodactyl looking demon, and that had a name and was talking to me and everything. And it culminated in me literally passing out, fainting, standing up and fainting with a bong in my hand in my kitchen. The bong shattered, and I landed on top of it, and there's a giant shard of glass literally like grazing my rib cage. Like, if I had like leaned over a quarter of a centimeter, it could have punctured my fucking lung. And I'm laying there on the kitchen floor, and my friend goes over and he's like, "Hey, Lush, you need to get up." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm cozy here. I don't want to get up. Like, the floor feels cold." I don't know if you've ever been like super drunk and did you like get nauseous when you would drink too much ever and throw up? Or
not really.
I never really seen you as it like that would happen to me, and I would love the feeling of the cold floor, a bathroom floor on my face. So soothing when I had just yacked from the spins. You know what I mean? This is basically like, this is all a long form answer of your previous question. What is addiction? Because like this is textbook
addiction,
unmanageability, out of control behavior. You know what I mean? And, like, my friend literally had to drag me off the ground with a fucking piece of a glass bong literally almost making me walk around like with an iron lung for the rest of my life type shit.
Yeah.
And then the fact of the matter is, within a day, I'm back doing that shit again. And
Yeah, it's wild that it doesn't ever shake you. Like you could literally have like the most extreme experiences with any form of addiction, and it's just like it doesn't ever seem to shake you until something really big happens, or you're faced with some like ultimatum or something like that. You lose somebody in your life or something like that. It kind of forces you to take a lot of initiative to make that change. Because I remember like when I was like filming porn, I'd be like driving to like go film a scene and literally having the thought in my head of like, I just need to do this one last time, and then that's it. Then I'll be good. You know, which is super textbook addiction. Like, yeah, just one last hit. You know, like I just need this one last time. And I remember thinking, I'm like, this is an addiction. Like I am an addict. Like I'm thinking exactly like an addict thinks, and you sort of don't care. You're just like whatever. You know, this is how it is. And then like your concern for your own safety goes out the window as well. You don't care really about like your hygiene. There's like, you know, you're like, you put yourself in dangerous situations, like you were just saying, where you might like hurt yourself like a lot, and you're just like whatever, as long as I'm fulfilling this need, you know.
Right.
So it's really wild. And
it's literally like if you have to, it's literally just like pissing, you know what I mean? Like you have to piss, you know what I mean? Like, oh, there's nowhere to piss. I'm in the car. I got to piss in this bottle, even though like, you know what I mean? Like that's like, there's no other, you can't control it at that point. Once you're that deep in the spiritual malady and your addiction is driving the ship, steering the ship, there's nothing you can do, you know what I mean, to stop it at that point. Like,
I think a good thing that you said about like addiction that's really strong, and I think should resonate with a lot of people that might be considering if they're addicts or not, is that if your life is unmanageable. And that's such a good point to look on, because a lot of people come in here and they're like, I don't know if I'm really addicted to this thing. They're like, hey, you know, I smoke weed, like am I addicted to it? I drink every now and then, am I addicted? And then the question you should ask yourself is it getting in the way of your health, of your financials, of your job, of your relationship? And if the answer is yes to any of those, then you probably should look into it. And, you know, I think the answer to both of that, me and you, was that our addictions was making our lives really unmanageable, like to an extreme level.
Yeah, and the thing is this, like, are you even willing to make a thorough and fearless, honest inventory of yourself and really take a look at what unmanageability means to you? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Let me ask you this, because, you know, when and just let me know if I'm getting too personal with you.
Oh, we've already crossed that bridge, baby.
But you know, like when you went through your divorce, and you there was like a very obvious physical change in you, and a lot of people did take note of it, and I took note of it, and you got really skinny really, really fast. And I remember being really concerned and knowing that it was not a natural thing, and that you were probably using a lot. But you know, I'm very ignorant to like what exactly you were doing. During that time, I do like when I do have a lot of remorse for not reaching out more and like asking if you're okay. And I know I did to a degree, but
you did.
I'm always curious, and this is a question that people ask this a lot, is how do you help somebody going through an extreme addiction like that, where it's like, I was really concerned about your health. You know, you're losing an intense amount of weight all at once, and then also like some of the people that you're surrounding yourself with seem to be ambivalent of it. You know, they're just like, oh, he's just doing a lot of cardio, and I'm like, I'm doing a lot of cardio. I'm like, that's not how you lose that much weight in that short amount of time. So what would your suggestion be to people that they have a close friend or loved one going through an extreme addiction and they want to help, but they don't really know exactly how? So what would your advice be?
Great questions. To answer the first part you touched on, beyond the drugs I was using at that time period, I was extremely depressed and had some, like, I would say even like body dysmorphia disorder. Like I have always been like insecure that I've never been super physically in shape. You know what I mean? Like I've never been like, I've always had a belly, never really had six pack like that. You know what I mean? Like been like skinny, fat, looked like a starving third world baby with like with a belly that sticks out type physique. You know what I mean? Like literally skinny fat is the best way I could describe my body. And at that time I was like, okay, I thought that I was going to be with one woman for the rest of my life. That wound up not working out. So now I wanted to, like, in my opinion, like look good. And I thought that instead of like working within the frame of my body type and trying to get, like, you know, build muscle mass, I think it'd be easier to just starve myself, and maybe then I'll have like some kind of scrawny six pack. And you know what I mean? I was like listening to a lot of depressing gothy music at the time, and like thought that was the move and the look and what I wanted to, the image I wanted to project. You know what I mean? So it was beyond, like, yeah, it was completely drug fueled and drug addled, but it was literally like I was starving myself.
Yeah, so a lot of just like literally just like not eating
And barely, like, I got down to, like, right now I'm over 190 pounds and I look better than I probably
yeah. I mean,
and
everybody in the chat has been saying how amazing you look, and you just look so
awesome.
much healthier.
Wish I could read the comments, but I'll go back and check them afterwards. But yeah, I got down to 140 something pounds, bro.
Damn, that is wild. That is wild.
Yeah, and people like, and I had a shaved head. I shaved my head at the time. People literally thought I was like on chemotherapy.
Yeah.
Which I didn't like when people said that, but I was completely out of my head. Now, to answer the second part of what you said.
Also, I just want to speak on this really fast, and I noticed that this is like a thing like that. You know, you've definitely embraced like your recreational drug use in your persona, but I don't really like how the fans think it's okay to like sort of insult you and be inflammatory because of that. And I know that's in part your fault to a degree because you've embraced that, but it did always like bug me that people like are so quick to like be like, well, he's a drug addict, like what do you expect, like, you know, or like when you got really skinny, like be insulting rather than being concerned. And that's always super you know, surprising to me when fans of the culture see somebody that is a part of a culture they love to rather than be approach something from a point of concern, they approach something from a point of attack. Where like I see somebody going through this and I'm going to attack them for that because it makes me feel slightly better about anything I'm going through, rather than being like, this person seems like they're going through depression, addiction, anything, and I'm concerned, rather than just being like, he's a drug addict, what do you fucking expect, you know? Like,
absolutely. I mean, like, these same people would make those comments about Cadillac, and then look what happened. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
And then those are the same dudes saying R.I.P. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
like, you know, like I understand it. Like as you said, I bear a huge part of responsibility in that by the image that I exuded and the affectation that I perpetuated, and all of that. And then on top of it, it's somewhat human nature to like we are to a small extent, but still, like, within our subculture, public figures, and human beings are going to voyeuristically look at and judge and make assumptions and assertions about the people that they're watching. We're like characters on a show to them. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
I'm sure when it's personalized to them and it's people that are really in their life and it's their own, because everybody has an addict in their life, whether it's in their family or one of their friends or someone they works with. Everybody in the world, hands down, is touched by addiction or themselves. A lot of them were seeing a negative reflection of their past or current self that they didn't like. Some of them were recovered addicts themselves and be like, "Ooh, this dude is sick." Like, people would have to, I know people that were in recovery that would have to block me on social media and stuff because it hurt them to see.
Yeah.
Because it reminded them of the darkness within themselves. And I totally, looking back, I could understand that, because I'm not judging. I'm more like you said, like in a loving way. Like, there's been recently people within our culture who have seemingly been struggling with these issues, and people are quick to tear them down. And when people will tag me and be like, "Oh, this guy's doing good now. What do you say about this?" I'll be like, "Well, I'm not here to make any assumptions, but just know that I'm praying for him, and if he does need help, I'm here, and I understand." And you know what I mean? This isn't something to look down upon or mock, because it could happen to anybody. Would you make fun of somebody with cancer, even if they smoke? Let's say somebody smoked cigarettes or chewed tobacco for 30 years, but then they got fucking mouth or lung cancer. Like, what? You're gonna make fun of that, even if their habits did lead to it? Somebody had unprotected sex and got HIV. Like, you're gonna make fun of them for that?
Yeah, exactly. What does that ultimately do? Nothing. It doesn't.
Your auntie got cirrhosis of the liver because she's an alcoholic. You're gonna make fun of that?
Yeah, word, 100%. So it's like I see that sometimes, and I'm just like, I wish that it would be more commonplace to approach it with a level of concern and care, because if that was the case, then there would be a lot less of it. And I know that the internet is a great place for an anonymous conversation in general, and that's the birthplace of it. And of course, like, a lot of people wear that as a sheet of armor, and it builds them up and makes them feel bigger. But it's just disappointing to me when I saw that happening, because then it feeds into you. Like you said, it's like you're depressed because of these issues, and therefore you have body issues and you're wanting to look good, but then people are further talking about how you don't, so it just feeds into the cycle. It's just
perpetuates it. Yeah,
exactly.
And the thing is, like, we as addicts in recovery are blessed with a really unique opportunity to examine ourselves, develop a spiritual connection, and look at life a different way that the average person, unless they're already engaged in in-depth spiritual practices, most people don't have that perspective on life. Yeah. So we're coming at this, looking at it from, I don't want to say an enlightened, but a hyper-aware perspective on these. And I'm not speaking from a spiritual hilltop or anything, but just genuinely what it is. So, like, at the end of the day, it's human nature. Someone looks like a junkie, you know what I mean? Someone's unable to properly formulate a sentence and can't compose themselves and has spit coming out the side of their mouth or whatever the fuck it, you know what I mean? Like, then they're gonna get judged for it, and that's just human nature. And you know what I noticed? Like, the reception I get from people online and anonymous strangers is far different now than it ever has been, and generally a lot more positive, even though I was trying so much harder to get attention. Just me being my genuine self, being honest about my struggles, you know what I mean? Like, and just not being so defensive, taking things from, and I slip up, dude. I make mistakes. Like, I'll have to hit the delete button on Twitter all the time. But, every day, like I said earlier in the conversation, I woke up today, wasn't feeling good, you know what I mean? And I chose at a certain point to reset the day. I made a conscious effort and a cognitive thought. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start over. You know what I mean? I'm going to tap in spiritually. I'm going to meditate. I'm gonna not continue to allow the day to progress like this, even though it started on a bad note, and I'm gonna nip this in the bud. You know what I mean? Like time is a cycle. It's a continuous loop. It's not like a linear thing that that cannot be disrupted. Like, no, it's not like once it's bad, it's all bad for the rest of the day. No, you can ruin your day or make your day at any given time. You know what I mean?
Let's go. Let's go.
And that's what I chose to do. And as far as what you asked earlier about helping people in recovery, the number one, like I'd say the number one thing you can do is what you did with me, which is offer an ear, tap in, say, how you doing, man? I love you. Anything you need. Because you can't, and lead by example. You know, it's attraction rather than promotion. I can't ram my sobriety down people's throats and force them and tell them they need to do this. Because when people did that to me, it never worked. 0% of the time. Yeah. But, you know, if I see my friends such as yourself, you know what I mean? Like other homies of mine that are in sobriety, you know, like I see how their life has changed, how they were living, how their general demeanor, the energy they exude, and be like, damn, eventually I wanted a piece of that for myself.
Yeah.
And, you know, making yourself available. But like I have friends right now that are in the malady, that have relapsed, that are living all the way wrong. I have friends right now that are, you know, I know girls that I'm homies with that are prostituting themselves. You know what I mean? And not that, and I'm not talking down on sex workers when I say that. You know what I mean? I'm saying like women who wouldn't generally do that are now posted on Figueroa. You know what I mean? Like and things like that you know. And obviously I want to help them, but I can't. You know, until they want to change themselves, there's only so much I can do.
Yeah, so it's really about a case of you wanting to do it yourself, and you can't make the things you can't make people do. You can't make somebody love you, and you can't make somebody want to change themselves. No matter how hard you try, those things have to come from within that person.
100%. You can't make someone love you or themselves.
Yep, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, and at that time when you were reaching out to me, I genuinely didn't love myself. I didn't know what self-love was. I was selfish and self-serving and self-seeking. Yep. But like, you know, like we've talked about the reptile brain, like I wasn't operating at a higher frequency. All I cared about was gratification, shelter, you know what I mean? Like comfort. That's all I was seeking out. I was moving on instinct, you know what I mean? Like there was no thought of a future. There was no thought of other people, of a community. Like, you know, the world is a community. When you go outside, your energy affects the world around you. If you're on your cell phone yelling, that's energy you're putting out there that other people are going to feel, whether it's on a microcosmic level or on a large scale. It don't matter. Like, our energy affects everything around us, and either we're conscientious about what we're putting out there, or we're ambivalent.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's a really, really good point, man. If you guys want to ask any questions of Lush, I know you guys are talking a little bit in the chat. Feel free. This will be the moment where we could do a little Q&A because we're rounding out. We're at 50 minutes. But yeah, I mean, personal accountability is a big thing in sobriety in general, and it's something that you have to exercise every single day. I think that was a good thing about what you said earlier about resetting your day. That's a really good one. So Ice asks, do y'all think it's possible to get clean if you're still in that bad place that got you addicted in the first place?
Absolutely. 100%. You know what I mean? Like I was at my lowest point ever when I got clean. You know what I mean? Like there was no continuing the life hadn't gotten better the whole time. Like, people don't, let me tell you this, dude, people don't go to treatment They don't step into AA or NA or SLAA. They don't walk into those rooms on a winning streak. Like never. You know what I
That's
mean?
so
Like,
true,
oh,
man. That's
I'm
so
doing
true.
well. I'm doing well. I
Yeah.
got this little alcoholism thing. Maybe I'll just go to an AA meeting. Like,
Yeah.
nah, like that's when you make it get better, even if it feels like there's nothing you can do. Your back's against the wall. Back's against the wall. It's all bad. All options are over. You're in mourning. You're depressed. That's when. That's the best time to get sober.
Yeah, I agree with that. A plus, what do you do for fun now? I think he's asking like, has your social life or your activities changed since it was mostly centered around using before?
Dude, I have so much more fun than I ever did, and like the number one thing is I actually like being present in the moment, like doing like exploring my interests. I'm more conscious and conscientious when I'm doing my music. I'm actually aware and present in the moment. Like doing playing sports, things I didn't do since I was in high school. You know what I mean? Like actually doing activities, throwing a baseball around. You know what I mean? Like playing, doing activities, hanging out, going on nature hikes, like hanging out with animals, like things that I'm passionate about and can actually enjoy doing. Going like right now, it's kind of whack because of social, because of quarantine and stuff. Or I would be going to the record store all the time. You know what I mean? Like doing things that I really enjoy, spending time with people where I'm not just glued to my phone
Yeah.
and thinking about myself and just waiting for the blunt to get passed around again. I could actually engage in conversations with my friends and enjoy them and enjoy what's going on and focus on like when I'm getting back into battle rap, if I'm putting an event together, like could actually feel the joy of making these things happen and fulfilling a vision and not just doing it for self-seeking purposes and actually trying to contribute to the culture and things like that. You know what I mean? Like I do everything I love on a higher level and am more present for it. You know what I mean? And have more meaningful relationships with people.
Yeah, word up. Nim NIMMAHATV Beats says, I just want to tell him this: respect for both fighting your addiction and also endless respect for sharing these things. Thank you.
Much love.
Justin Randy, is Lush still cool with battle rap community?
Would I be on Rune? And no, I'm not going to answer that in a snotty way. Yes, of course, bro. Like, yeah, like I was literally on the phone with Organic for 4 hours yesterday. Talked to Diz for about an hour yesterday. Like everybody that I was cool with, that was actually genuinely my friend, I'm still really cool with. I'm on Rune an Hour with Avocado right now. You know what I mean? I'm still a part of Crack City Death Certificate with you know what I mean? Shouts to the homie Nino on his C-Day today. Avo's about to go film the event later on. Like things like that. Like, yeah, I still am very cool with the community. I'm still tapped in, looking for growth and more evolution. And I love battle rap. I love hip hop's my life, dude. You know what I mean? I'll always be a part of it.
Bisco asks, when did you know that you were done using?
Ooh, so I was never done using, to be honest. Using was done with me at a certain point. So basically what had happened, I've told this story before, but to briefly summarize it, one day, I was finishing up my album, which still hasn't come out yet, but it's dropping soon. Just dropped the Foreign and Baby video single recently, so I'm psyched on that. But as I was finishing that up, a little over 6 months ago, I was on like a big pill binge, actually about a 7-year pill binge with Xanax, and I had run out of pills and was waiting for the re-up, was in a really dark, depressed place, made a cryptic Facebook post along the lines of, I need help. My fiance Marissa and my brothers basically triple team intervened on me, got me to agree to go to treatment, which I never would have done had I been still high, but I was like so desperate at the moment and felt so shitty that got me to agree to it. And then as soon as I was able to re-up and get high again, I instantly regretted the decision. I would have kept going, but you know, I didn't really have too many moves left to bust. I was stuck in a city where I was on the verge of being homeless, and things were really all the way down at that point. Nothing else I could do, so I agreed to go to treatment and wound up following through and going. And by the time I was there and detoxing, when I realized, like, damn, I wish I had just kept popping pills, I was already starting to feel better.
Wow. Have you thought about writing a book about your journey?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to. I think eventually, I've always known that I could write, and it's been an option. My primary means of expressing myself is through hip hop still. So I'm going to continue to make music, but eventually, when the Homer Simpson hairline gets hold of me fully, and I'm maybe in my 60s or 50s, then I'll reflect back. I think the story is not over yet, but I definitely am sharing my stories through outlets like this. But one day I'm definitely down to make a movie, write a book, do all that.
Hell yeah. All right, well, we're going to round this out. We're going to play Foreign and Baby. I'm going to turn off the cams, and you guys will just see the Ruin Your Day logo up with Lush One's newest single, Foreign and Baby.
Hope y'all enjoyed this on my YouTube channel. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel for that, as well as a bunch more recovery talk. I got my show. In addition to being every Sunday on Ruin an Hour with Avo, I got my own recovery show on my channel. It's a lot less cool, but it's still informative. It's called Sobriety, the Dirt on Being Clean. And I appreciate all y'all positivity. If y'all like the video, share that, you know what I'm saying? More music. And check me out on the Ruin Your Day Radio Volume 4 compilation album dropping very soon as well.
Hell yeah, that'll be dropping August 17th. I think that's
I think so, yeah.
That's
I think so.
The date. Anything else?
I'm on a joint on there with Chase Moore, SM, Eddie I, and Fredo. It goes crazy. It's called Demi Lovato.
Hell yeah. All right, let me just get this video.
Anybody, a lot of y'all have been doing it. I appreciate it. Please don't hesitate. Hit me on social media. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm always there to talk to people and help guide y'all to, share my experience, strength, and hope. And if you need help getting tapped into a treatment or rehab situation or 12 steps, I'm here for that as well. So.
Hell yeah. All right, Nick, I appreciate everything. You don't have to exit out. I'll talk to you for a little bit after this so you can stay on the line. But thanks to everybody for tuning in for another episode of Ruin an Hour. Lush, if you're down to be on next week, why not?
Of course.
Let's
do it, baby.
Make it into Sunday church session. All right, everybody. Salute to y'all. Tomorrow, you guys will find out who won the round for round, Hollow or Rum Nitty. And yeah, I'll see you guys on Wednesday at 5. Peace out.
Use your power.
Goddamn shoelaces, stupid ass you ain't fit this to me, man. I'm crazy, home. I bust those dumb fools. Shut the fuck up. Kill him for me, kill him for me. Kill him good.
Damn, I'm good kid, no Kendrick. Float endless boats on every road like the old Venice. Don't be a menace, but there's no message. Only my own lessons learned from a lifestyle so reckless. My brody had a cult we called Old Western. Hid it from the Johnnies, told our dog go fetch it. 12 treat my house like a ghost presence. So like a side dude, I deleted every phone message. Cause once text added to my bro sentence. Like if they found that tech in my old dresser. I deal with Maycoms, baby showers, more presents. Keep the tools known to set trip, all the scales only metric. Harry J.O. I would stay finessing payrolls. I was in these labels, pockets, even indie labels. Before I ever front, I would change the gate code. Celebration for your nasal, make him say yeah yo. Foreigner baby on the front of 5 racks. Had the smarts and a heart they couldn't bypass. Saber-tooth tiger moving snow to the white cats. Drop the price fast, it's a time lapse so they buy that. Had to split the cake like a pie graph. No way to get cheese when it's crafted like that. Besides that, I held the work in my pad. I changed the books like the Bible just to hide cash. Thank Lord for that foreigner baby. The losses I took in the soldier it made me. My 4 zips and you get a half zone free. Flip it 8 times, that's a whole key. Thank Lord for that foreigner baby. Crazy, the same thing that ruined my life saved me. My 4 zips and you get a half zone free. That's either money, jail time, or a nosebleed. Knox call me Napa Valley, got them pints of purple. My plug value shocked him like it's controversial. Filled Maria with grace, now she kinda fertile. Hatched so many chickens, I felt like the colonel. Wasn't allowed to even visit my parents' crib, and I hid where I lived like I'm a terrorist. They knew I sold, using was very sick. Foaming at the mouth and I couldn't just twist a narrative. They thought I'd get shot and then OD, or get rolled by the cops with 10 OZs. My ex-bitch split, but I stayed 10 toes deep. My firing squad got a little fame like MOP. And even Dolo had to keep the SIG on me. Suckers want their bread, we can beef for Big Tommies. I'm smoking presidential and they got that Mitt Romney. I promise I ain't mean to turn out like this, mommy. Thank Lord for that foreigner baby. The losses I took in the soldier it made me. My 4 zips and you get a half zone free. Flip it 8 times, that's a whole key. Thank Lord for that foreigner baby. Crazy, the same thing that ruined my life saved me. My 4 zips and you get a half zone free. That's either money, jail time, or a nosebleed. Or you die.
4.5 will get you in the game. Some days I wasn't able, there was always Kane.
Goddamn shoelaces, stupid ass you ain't been dissing me, man. I'm crazy, home. I bust those gun fools. Shut the fuck up.
Kill him for me, kill him for me. Kill him good.
Damn, I'm good kid, no Kendrick. Float endless boats on every road like the old Venice. Don't be a menace, but there's no message. Only my own lessons learned from a lifestyle so reckless. My Brody had a cult we called Old Western. Hid it from the Johnnies, told our dog go fetch it. 12 treat my house like a ghost presence. So like a side dude, I deleted every phone message. Cause once text added to my bro sentence. Like if they found that tech in my old dresser. I deal with Maycons, baby showers, more presents. Keep the tools known to set trip, all the scales only metric. Harry J.O. I would stay finessing payrolls. I was in these labels, pockets even indie labels. Before I ever front, I would change the gate code. Celebration for your nasal, make him say yeah yo. Foreigner baby on the front of 05 racks. Had the smarts and a heart they couldn't bypass. Saber-tooth tiger moving snow to the white cats. Drop the price fast, it's a time lapse so they buy that. Had to split the cake like a pie graph. No way to get cheese when it's crafted like that. Besides that, I held the work in my pad. I changed the books like the Bible just to hide cash. Thank Lord for that foreigner baby. The losses I took in the soldier it made me. My 4 zips and you get a half zone free. Flip it 8 times, that's a whole key. Thank Lord for that foreigner baby. Crazy, the same thing that ruined my life saved me. My 4 zips and you get a half zone free. That's either money, jail time, or a nosebleed. Knox call me Napa Valley, got them pints of purple. My plug value shocked him like it's controversial. Filled Maria with grace, now she kinda fertile. Hatched so many chickens, I felt like the colonel. Wasn't allowed to even visit my parents' crib, and I hid where I lived like I'm a terrorist. They knew I sold, using was very sick. Foaming at the mouth and I couldn't just twist a narrative. They thought I'd get shot and then OD, or get rolled by the cops with 10 OZs. My ex-bitch split, but I stayed 10 toes deep. My firing squad got a little fame like MOP. And even Dolo had to keep the SIG on me. Suckers want their bread, we can beef for Big Tommies. I'm smoking presidential and they got that Mitt Romney. I promise I ain't mean to turn out like this, mommy. Thank Lord for that foreigner baby. The losses I took in the soldier it made me. My 4 zips and you get a half zone free. Flip it 8 times, that's a whole key. Thank Lord for that foreigner baby. Crazy, the same thing that ruined my life saved me. My 4 zips and you get a half zone free. That's either money, jail time, or a nosebleed.